Alright, since I always have the most objectively correct opinions, I've decided that we're going to go ahead and continue by doing the Archer tier list next. If you guys saw the Saber tier list video, you guys would understand that everything I said was 100% correct, and none of my opinions are fallible at all whatsoever. If you disagree, then you're just wrong, okay? Now that I've made a lot of people upset, we can go ahead and start the tier list. Yeah, if you guys watch the Saber one, you guys would know how I'm going to break this down. We have like the tier 0 guys that are like just your de facto some of the best archers in the game. They're like your must summons. They're insane. They're really broken. Your tier 1.5s are like your really strong servants that you're probably going to level up and you'll probably use pretty frequently, but they're kind of bordering on being broken or not. Like it kind of is, maybe I'm not sure that I would stick them up there. Like I'm acknowledging that they're really good, but I don't know if they're exactly like busted. Tier 2 are just like really solid servants. Like they're just solid, but you probably are going to use somebody over them, right? Tier 3 is like you can get some value out of them, but you're probably not going to use them all that often. Like you're really not going to get a whole lot of usage out of them. And then don't is like, bro, don't even bother leveling them up until JP or we get the JP update that gives us quartz for leveling up our servants. So with that little intro out of the way, if you haven't already, make sure you leave a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for that daily FGO content. I also usually stream at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every weekday over on my Twitch, but obviously, as you guys can hear right now, I'm on vacation. But without further ado, I hope that I didn't forget a servant this time, because in the last video, Kagetora was there and Saber Mave wasn't, so you know what, I'm hoping I didn't forget somebody, but you know what, it's not a ZTL tier list video if I don't forget somebody. So I'm also kind of like, you know what, if I forgot somebody, then, you know, it's just a tradition at this point. But anyway, let's go ahead and just start jumping right into this. Billy, very solid tier 2 option when considering the grand scheme of all the archers. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, bro, he's not like tier 1.5. Consider that, like, while Billy is capable of doing like really good crits on like, you know, a turn or a couple of turns, and does have the 50% battery and everything, you're just gonna get better like single target archers. Like there are just better guys out there that kind of are going to either like out damage or just do more than what Billy is doing. But I think if you're looking for like a really solid free to play and just a solid single target archer in general, you gotta go with Billy, right? This guy is literally doing like everything that you could want, like fundamentally from your DPS. Like he can do good crits because he's a free NP5. His damage is pretty solid, and he has the 50% battery, which is like one of the really good things about him, right? And so it's just like, he's almost like the gatekeeper for tier 1.5. It's like, are you better than Billy, right? Like, are you better than like this guy who just has all the fundamentals? He doesn't have all the extra bells and whistles, right? Like he doesn't have like, oh, I can stack my card type, or I don't have this insane special damage mod, or I can't protect the entire party for a turn. Like he doesn't have all those neat bells and whistles, but he's kind of like the gatekeeper, right? Which is also why, this is probably going to make some people upset, I'm going to put Squirtoria right next to Billy as well, because fundamentally they're kind of the same servant, although I think Billy is a little bit better. One, because it's a free NP5, and you know, when I kind of evaluate summonable servants, I evaluate them at NP1, and I evaluate the free-to-plays, or the ones that you can at least max out for free, at NP5. Two, he's got the battery, and that 50% battery is definitely giving him a lot over Squirtoria. 3, Squirtoria doesn't do that much damage. Her damage can be a little bit lacking. She's kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts type of character, but she's still really good because she is going to pretty much always hit you with those 1,000 cuts, right? She's not really doing anything special. She just has like the arts buff, the attack buff, refund on her NP, and just really good NP gain in general. That I also think that like she alongside Billy are kind of like your gatekeepers for tier 1.5, because neither one of these two are really doing anything super special. They're kind of just like, yeah, we're just like really strong standard .jpeg servants, right? Like they would either be at like the top of tier 2 or the bottom of 1.5. If like you're really offended that for some reason that I'm putting them right here as like gatekeepers, if that really hurts your feelings, and just imagine they're at the bottom of tier 1.5. But it's because they're kind of like the fundamentals. Like if you're not doing what they're doing, you're probably not a solid like single target archer, right? Because they're giving you all the bare necessities instead of having an insane battery. Squirtoria has like really insane NP gainer. That's like the only difference that they really have. Big battery, insane looping potential, right? That's kind of the difference between them. But now we can kind of start getting into like some of the other archers. Emiya is just insane. Like I don't think I really need to justify Emiya being this high. Like, he can just do whatever you want him to do. I mean, he's got the insane card buff, the fact that he can be a star bombing servant as a buster and do like big buster damage, big buster crits, or you can pivot him off to being an art servant where he has an insane like 10 hit AoE arts NP if you want to pivot him off to doing that. I mean, again, his crit star drop rate is insane. His crit damage is insane. He has survivability. I mean, Emiya is like, he pretty much has everything that you would want someone to have outside of like a special damage mod or just a big battery. But the fact that like he's doing like more crit damage, the fact that you could put him in buster or art team comps, right? The fact like he's just good everywhere, right? Like, the only place that he's not good is in like quick setups, right? But even then, with Ruler Scotty, who gives like buster crit damage, he might even be good in something like that, right? So Emiya himself is just nutty broken OP. And it really hurts me to do this, but Gilgamesh, as much as I love my boy Gilgamesh, he is my favorite character in Fate, I think he's just lacking like one thing, right? Like, he just needs to get like one thing to kind of push him up into that like tier 0 status, because he's got the 30% battery, which is good. He's got a solid charisma. His special damage mod against pretty much anybody that's weak to Enema Elish is really good. It lets him do almost single target damage as an AoE buster archer, right? You can even use him in certain farming nodes, right? Because, or in some farming setups with Koyanskaya in the future, because of the fact that he has a 30% battery, and you can like mesh that with like, say, Koyanskaya clearing wave 1, and then Gilgamesh just has like a K-scope or an imaginary element, or you just, you know, pair him with his a pen skill being like maxed out at 20%, and that gets him to like a 50% battery. Just stuff like that. Like, you can do so much with him to actually even have him farm, but I feel like he's missing that one little thing, right? Because everything that he does is almost like really basic, but it's really good, right? Which is almost why like I'm tempted to bump him up, but I just still feel like after using him for, dude, how long have I been playing FGO? Like 4 or 5 years? After using him for so long, that he just needs something. Like, he's missing out on like maybe like some really good type of like protection, or one in like card buff or something, or a way to gen stars a little easier, because he can kind of gen stars naturally because his natural hits are so high. I made a whole video talking about things that you could possibly do to buff Gilgamesh if you want to check that out if you're curious and you want like more of a discussion. But I just find that he's like missing out on something, right? I feel that he's like lacking in some areas, so that's why Gilgamesh is going in 1.5. Tristan is actually not as bad as a lot of people think. He's kind of just like Billy but gold, right? If that makes sense. Like, instead of like just protection for himself, it's like protection for the party, but I think it's like one hit based, right? And he does have the 50% battery, but it seals his NP for that turn, so you kind of have to play around that. He's just like gold Billy. But people tend to prefer Billy because Billy's a bit easier to use. Like, you know, he gens the stars, 50% battery, no nonsense with like sealing his NP. Does a lot more damage because he's guaranteed to be like pretty much an NP5 for you. But Tristan's not that bad. He's just basically like a gold Billy, essentially. Tauda over here is not super great. You can get some value out of him. He does have the demonic special damage mod. He's got double dodge. He does have like a buster buff. He's got like all the basic stuff, but he's just really not doing anything super impressive, especially in comparison to some of the other buster AoE archers. Like, we're looking at like Tesla, Napoleon, Emiya, Gilgamesh, Arash, Ishtar. Like, all of these other buster AoE servants are doing so much more than Tauda is doing. And even when like Arjuna is doing better than you, then you're kind of looking a little bit bad. Tauda does have the potential to get really good. I believe he just recently got buffed on JP. If we keep doing stuff like that for him, he definitely could become good, because the shell of his kit is really strong. You know, he has a very strong card buff. He's got the double dodges to keep himself alive. The demonic special damage mod can be pretty good. It's just, I want to see more chucked his way, right? He needs something, right? Like, I don't know, like bigger batteries, something like that, you know, just something along those lines, right? Robin Hood, very, very strong. Robin Hood is definitely somewhere around in here. Probably not quite as good as Squirtoria, right? Because Robin Hood, what he does is he's basically like a one-time nuke. In fact, I'll place him with Paris if I can find him, because Paris and Robin Hood essentially do like the same thing. They're both like, we're going to slap a special damage mod on the enemy, and then we're going to nuke them for a lot of damage. I'm still like considering Squirtoria a bit better than him, because I believe over 3 turns, Squirtoria will outdamage Robin Hood, because Robin Hood will like fire one main NP, and is going to have a really hard time getting back to his NP, right? Unless you're really getting like a lot of arts crits while his NP gain buff is up. Paris is a little bit more modern, but I also find that the problem with both of them is that if the boss has like really high debuff resistance, or can't be debuffed, or can't be statused, then they definitely lose out a lot, because then you can't have like the weak shot buff, and you can't hit them with the poison, and then they lose a lot of their value. So they're definitely both really strong. They're both functionally going to be like really big nukes if you just need somebody to get like just obliterated. Robin Hood or Paris are definitely going to be your guys for that. And they're both, you know, quick and arts respectively, depending on who you got. If you got Scotty, Castoria, Tamamo, whoever to support them, you could definitely bring them along. But they're strong, right? It's just they have a few weaknesses here and there. I mean, but again, they still have like the general good stuff that you would want people to have. Like they've got survivability, they can do really good damage as long as their debuffs landed. So they're still very, very solid guys. These two, unfortunately, it's like they're like -1 HP buff that they want to be at, or where they want to fight at like 1 HP to do max damage, just really isn't super great. They got a buff on JP that made them a bit better, but they're still, you know, they're still lacking a little bit. They still have a ways to go. So we'll see what they do with them in the future, but they've definitely at least maybe gone from like don't to tier 3 maybe. Like there's at least, and okay, this is kind of cheating because I'm kind of going off of NA, you know, right now. I'm only specifically going off of NA and judging every year's tier list, right, and comparing them back to back to see how far we've come. I'm kind of cheating a little bit because I'm kind of, you know, working with knowledge that, oh yeah, they're going to get buffed in the future and everything, but they will definitely get a bit better. And again, the shell of their kit is good, right? They got like high crit damage, they have the capacity to do a lot of damage. It's just they have to fight at like 1 HP, which isn't very good. Anyway, Chloe as a free NP5 and also as just a broken free-to-play servant in general, she's definitely going to be going up here. I think she's definitely a bit more valuable than Emiya as well, considering that she's a free NP5. Wow, look at that. 2 Emiyas in tier 0, and Mr. Zashu is stuck down here at 1.5. As a Gilgamesh fan, I'm literally crying, but I don't know if I really need to like go over everything that Chloe does. I feel like everybody knows why she's broken, but like survivability, she can crit, she has card buff, she can loop her NP all over the place like Squirtoria, but she's going to do more damage because she's a free NP5. 50% battery, so it's kind of like the best of both worlds between both of those two. Yeah, she's pretty good. Atalanta is very strong, right? And oh, by the way, I'm not like trying to like balance out the tiers or anything. If you find that there's a lot of like tier 2s in like one specific class, it's kind of like if you compared them all at the very end, that would kind of be like the end result. If it's just like, if there happens to be like a lot of tier 0 archers or a lot of tier 0 like moon cancers or something along those lines, it just means that that class is really good. I just, before like somebody get worried, then like there's not going to be a lot of like tier 3 people. It's like, yeah, a lot of archers are just really good. But yeah, Atalanta, even though like her kit might seem like really basic or not like super great to a lot of people, she's still capable of being a strong farmer. With the NP gain buff, she does give the entire party like a pretty massive 50% quick damage buff for like 1 turn. So that's also really cool as well. It can kind of help her out in closing out farming nodes. It could also, you know, help out other like pseudo DPSs on the team. Like for instance, when Ruler Scotty comes out, Ruler Scotty herself can actually take advantage of that with her own NP. So Atalanta's just kind of like generically good. You know, dodge, big buff that she can give to everybody, NP gain for farming, just generally good. Ishtar is really, really strong. She's either like tier 1.5 or she's cracking into tier 0. I think the only thing that holds her back is the second skill, which ironically is her 50% battery, but it also has an 80% chance both on individual procs for invincibility or pierce invincibility. I think if those were guaranteed, or at least one of them was guaranteed, I could crank her up a little higher, because everything else that she's doing is already really good. Like that her NP already can do like some pretty good damage because she gets like a buster buff, plus the attack buff, plus the charisma, plus the fact that it like drops stars for her to play around with, plus her naturally being an archer, so her natural star weight's really high. 50% battery means that she's really good in challenge quests and is really good for buster farming as well. I mean, if that was just guaranteed, I think that would just be icing on the cake. So I think she's already really good right now as is. I just think you know, maybe we buff her in the future, buff the second skill and make one of those guaranteed, and then, I don't know, throw in some additional effect where she gets extra crit damage or something. I don't know, just something along those lines. All right, then we have Yugioh. Yugioh is pretty much like, I'm keeping her in the same vein as like Robin Hood in Paris, where it's like kind of gimmicky, like really good single target damage. Yugioh is, if you don't know, instead of like just smacking the buff onto the enemy, she's just reliant on fighting male enemies. And if you bring her to fight male enemies, she will knock them out. Like, she will do really good damage. Yugioh is the reason why like she was the prime choice when it came to finding someone to actually take out Gawain in the Camelot Singularity, because she's really good at sniping males, right? On top of the fact that she just has like a solid like 3-turn arts buff, she has a dodge to keep herself alive, the battery plus the drain is also pretty helpful, and she can like charm lock people potentially as well, which is also really cool. So Yugioh is just really solid in general. It's just, I don't know, when it comes down to like who's better between the three of them, it kind of depends. Like, someone down below will be like, well, actually, like 50% of enemies in the game are male, but 51% of enemies in the game have a debuff resistance high enough to resist Robin Hood. You know, someone can give me the nerdy calcs in the comments down below, but I think they're all relative enough. Moriarty is actually really good. I'm not going to hear it. Moriarty's really, really strong. The fact that this man's got, like, the big Chungus battery, the fact that they gave him the ability to double buff pretty much anyone because he can turn anybody evil and then double buff them is insane. The Pierce invincibility is insane. The guy's just a really, really good single target buster archer, right? He's just really, really strong. And I don't know if people just don't read Moriarty's kit. Maybe they just never looked at what he does, but the guy is just insane. Then we have Emiya Alter. So despite him being, I believe, still the hardest hitting archer in the game technically, I don't think his kit is super great. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of him. Like, I think I would put him somewhere like around in here, maybe like somewhere in this area. Because, like, so you gotta consider that, like, compared to, like, them, he's, like, NP1, and he's got, like, this weird thing where, like, it's designed around you not wasting any of his buffs. It's like, okay, he gets 3 hits of damage cut that are he only gets 3 of them, but they last 5 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. So the idea is that you won't waste them, and that's, like, good and everything, but I just find it's just, like, I don't know, like, he has a hard time getting back to his NP in my experience using him, and he just, I don't know, like, he just is kind of like a big bungus. Like, he kind of just, like, boom, there's a lot of damage, and that's kind of it. Like, you're not really doing a whole lot else that's really special, and really the only thing that's kind of saving him right now is that he does just have, like, generic good buffs, and he does just do a lot of damage, right? Like, he just hits really, really hard, and that's kind of saving him from, like, being in lower tiers, right? Arash, I don't need to talk about this. Arash is broken. That guy's dummy nutty. Helena, if they just replaced, like, the special damage thing that she had with, like, literally anything else, like a special damage mod, she'd be fine, but they kind of just obliterated her from ever being, like, even remotely good with that. So, yeah, unfortunately, Helena's not super great. Tomoe's literally, she's literally just like Emiya Alter, but, like, female or something, I don't know, because she's also just like a really big bungus. She's fun to use, but I have the same issues using Tomoe that I use that I find when I'm using Emiya Alter, that, like, yeah, she will fire like one massive big Chungus NP, obliterate somebody and just smack them for a lot of damage, and then she'll be like, all right, master, it's gonna take me a couple of turns to get back to my NP. And, you know, because I'm a Tomoe simp, I'm like, yeah, you know, you take your time, but in the grand scheme of things, someone like Artoria Arch over here doesn't need that. She's like, oh yeah, I've already loaded up my next 3 NPs. I'm already ready to go, chief. Like, I'm already ready to keep launching these things. So, yeah, unfortunately, like, I kind of have her up here because she has, like, a basic, just good kit. Like, her kit is just decent. It gets the job done. She does big damage, but she does kind of struggle on the crackback, right? Santa Altera. Actually, do I have Nightingale? Yeah. I'm just going to stick the both of them. Well, actually, I do think they're actually quite a bit of a tier apart, but I'm putting her down here and putting her up here. They're both essentially, like, kind of doing the same thing. They're, like, support quick archers, with a Nightingale being AoE and her being a single target, unless I just got that backwards, unless I just swapped that around in my head. If I did, and I made that mistake, there you go. Someone will tell me in the comments down below, like, actually, ZTL, you got it backwards, and someone will correct me, all right? But basically, that really doesn't matter all that much. I mean, you can use, like, Nightingale for farming as an AoE, like, if you want. You could try to, like, force her to do that, but really, they're just both really strong if you want to bring them to support other people. And, you know, like Altera's able to give them like the battery's kind of the main thing that she's giving, whereas Nightingale is giving them literally everything. Like she's like guts, attack, NP gain, just bam, 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 just everything. So it's like, yeah, while I'm a huge fan of battery, it's like the main thing Altera's giving them is the battery, and then and Nightingale is giving them literally everything else. I'll tell you what, for free-to-play setups, if you bring both of them, they can at least make somebody go like Super Saiyan 3 for a turn. So that's kind of cool. Fujino's like not bad. Fujino in my eyes is kind of like better these two guys over here. It's just hard for me to like have people crack through these guys because I just think really highly of this free-to-play trio right here. I think they're really, really strong. But Fujino's not bad. I think she can be a little bit weird to use for some people upon like first getting her because she's so rare and like not a lot of people get experience using Fujino. But like once you kind of like get used to using her kit, she's kind of fine. She's got all the bare necessities that you need. She's got some big thicky defense as well, so she's kind of hard to kill. So, you know, she's got a lot going for her. Plus, her second ascension is really, really cute. So, you know what? That's all that really matters in my book. But in all reality, she is fine. Like, she's got, like, everything you need. She can, like, pierce through people. She's got big, thicky defense. She can do some pretty decent damage. So she's fine. Chiron gets put into 1.5 because this guy is also a pseudo support type servant. Yeah, he can give everybody, he can give like the waiver crit buff, he can give card buffs, and then he can snipe, I believe it's defensive buffs off of opponents. So that's always really, really good. If you are lacking in like any support, consider slapping Chiron into one of your teams because he can actually help out a little bit as being a DPS, being able to do a little bit of extra damage to the enemy, but then he can also just slap on some strong crit and card buffs onto your party members. So Chiron's just really, really strong for that. Napoleon goes about right around here. It's actually kind of debatable who you want to say is better between Napoleon and Gilgamesh. In fact, where's the last guy? There he is, Tesla. Yeah, Tesla I think is the best out of the bunch. Although I don't believe he has his buff on NA right now, so it should be like that until he gets his buff, and then he becomes like tier 0. He becomes stupid dummy broken. But yeah, like that's kind of how I think it looks. It's kind of, it just kind of depends on what you value between the 4 of them, really. It's like, do you value like just good bungaloid consistent good damage? Do you value the damage mod that Tesla is bringing plus like the special ability to like buff the party's NP gain and such? Keep in mind they both have 50% batteries, they have 30%, but Gilgamesh has a special damage mod against basically all servants. Napoleon has divine plus just like really good big chungus natural damage with like his big attack buffs, the NP damage buff, stuff along those lines. It kind of just comes into like what you think is like the best between all of them, but currently on NA that's kind of my thoughts on it. And then let me go get the last bum over here. Okay, Arjuna's not this bad. He's not this bad. Let me repeat, he's not this bad. I am doing it for the meme, though. I'm doing it for the meme, okay? He's not this bad. He's not this bad. He could probably go in, like, tier 2. Like, Arjuna's not, like, that terrible. Well, maybe, actually, maybe not. Actually, maybe not. I'm going to convince myself out of it. But you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I'm just throwing him down there for a meme right now because I just think it's really funny. But I don't think he's bad. Before all the Arjuna stands, all 2 of them come out and start trying to crucify me. Jean, really good generic loopy lady. In fact, because Jean is up here, I'm almost kind of like convincing myself that she should probably be bumped up, as should Billy. I think I actually will go ahead and smite them up here. I think I actually will go ahead and do that. Because I'm like, I was like, I consider Jean like the AoE version of Squirtoria. And I think Jean is like 1.5. And so I'm like, then Archer Artori should probably also go up there as well. It's just, Archer Artori, I think it needs to start, like, I don't know, because I said she doesn't do anything special, but I guess she does, like, just have the insane, godly looping ability, and maybe that's her special thing, right? And Billy is a free-to-play with a 50% battery, so I think he does get to hang out with the big boys up here. But Jean literally just loops like an absolute god. One of the favorite things that she does is that she stacks the crit star ability on her NP. And I think that's really cool on an art servant because you're going to spam her NP anyway. And every time you fire her NP, she's getting that continuous star gen effect that she's dropping 10 per turn for 3 turns. And you start stacking that like crazy. And then after her like main buffs that are helping her loop wear off, she's got all of these stars to just like crit the enemy into oblivion. So I think that's really, really cool on Jean's part. William Tell, like I just don't think Tell is like super great. I don't think he's like really all that. I mean, I don't know, I might offend like the one William Tell stan in like the comments down below, but all I'm saying is like, just think about it this way. When you need yourself like a single target archer, are you ever reaching for Tell, or are you reaching for like Uriel, Robin Hood, Paris? You know, are you reaching, or like even your Altera, right? You're free to play. Like, so, like no one is ever like reaching for like Tell or like Tauta down here. So like if you're ever like, no, I use Tauta to clear this one thing, or I use Tell to clear this one thing. It's like, are you really ever reaching for them? There's maybe like one guy down there, and his name is like Hanukkah, right? Like that's the only guy that's reaching for like these ones, because he's the only one that is using like these servants, right? And I don't see him down there. Okay, I don't see him down there. So well, then he might comment on this video and then be like, actually, this is where you're wrong, kid. And then I get schooled, but. Anyway, basically, you're never reaching for them, and that's my proof. All right, there's my argument, is that you're never reaching for these guys tier 3. All right, you're never reaching for them bad. All right, as for Tommen, people don't like this guy enough. This guy is insane. This guy is cracked. Okay, the fact that like you can just start like looping your first and second skill, I believe. No, it's your second and third skill, the Buster and the Quick skill, and you can just start like demolishing the enemy's defense and just building up mad crits while also having a 30% battery and invincibility. And just as a bonus, it's not a major part of their kit and the whole thing they're trying to do. It's just something he does instead of them. He just happens to have the ability to do more damage as he gets weakened. Like, he already has a good kit, right? That gets better the more like the battle drags out and everything, right? Like, he's just insane, right? My man is just crazy, and I feel like more people aren't loving on this guy. I mean, he's literally Almin from Kuroko no Basketball, right? Like that's literally who this guy is. We even have the CE of him dunking on somebody, right? Like the guy is just the GOAT. All right, let's not cap. Osaka Behime, man, I really tried to like simp for this servant a lot when she came out, but there's just, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, okay, I did a whole review on Osaka Behime Archer. If you want my thoughts, just go watch the review. They're just, I don't know, just so many weird decisions. Like, okay, yeah, like the taunt's cool. She's got the card buffs. That's all really cool and all, but it's like, we're not doing anything, right? Like, we kind of, like, we're just relying on the fact that people are like, ah, yes, Osaka Behime, she's cute, and that's kind of what we're relying on. And I like Osaka Behime. I think she's cute, but we're not really like doing anything. I don't know. Like, I almost wish she was like an AOE art servant, right? I feel like she'd be better at that, because as a buster, she just kind of struggles. You know, she just, I don't know, doesn't seem, she's not like super great. I think Jane's pretty nice. I kind of consider her in like this tier 2-ish type tier. Probably somewhere either like up here by like Altera, or kind of down here with like as good as like some of the good free-to-play gods down here. Calamity Jane is one of those servants that's going to like fluctuate depending on how many stars you have available when her third skill, like when you want to fire that third skill. But even then, considering that like you don't need 50 to get like all of the good enough effects on Jane's third skill, like you can make do with like 30-40. I think that's good enough. I think that's fine. Her damage can be a little bit low, but like, you know, she can still like lower attack and drain enemy NP. Like, she's still got good stuff going for her. I think she's more of like a utility DPS archer rather than just like a dedicated DPS, and I've really liked slotting her into that role. You are broken. You're disgusting. Say down here. Say, I don't know if I want to say that she cracks 1.5, just because at like an NP1 her damage can be a little low. Yes, she does have like 3 different special damage mods, and yes, she is really, really good for free quests, because one of those special damage mods is Shadow Servant. But again, I think that like outside of like those scenarios, I think she can look a little bit lackluster. Then again, her kit is pretty decent. Like, it's a pretty like decently strong enough kit. Like, she's got like all the bare necessities that you would want someone to have. But like, do I consider that to like kind of put her on par with like, you know, like the Buster, like the actual really good Buster AoE servants, Moriarty, who I consider like kind of like your go-to Buster single target archer, right? Like, if you're not going to be, to be honest, using Super Orion, or I guess Ashvatama can also fit that role, kind of depending on what you need for the fight. But like, is he like that good, or is she like a pseudo support like these guys, or just like arts looping gods like them, or just a free to play with a 50% battery? I don't think so. Like, I think top of tier 2 is like a solid spot for Sei. Like, she can look pretty decent if you're fighting with her special damage mods, and she is like the queen of fighting free quests. But from my experience, she does struggle a little bit when it comes to looping her NP, especially like as a quick looper. She can struggle just a little bit, especially at those lower NP levels, but the special damage mods definitely do help her out, and her kit is strong enough as is that I think it saves her for being like lower. Ilya, I think, is also really strong as well. I think she's kind of in like a very similar position to Sei, except she's a little bit more tailored to actually farm nodes, because she's got like the quick buff, the NP gain buff, the battery, you know, she's got like the charisma for like child servant. She can like keep herself alive. She's just kind of got like a very straightforward, not like, she's not really like doing anything interesting, just like a very straightforward good kit. Like, she's just doing a lot of just generic good stuff that it just gets her up there into tier 2, I believe. Like, I think she's just doing enough of that good stuff that it's going to be able to get her there, right? If that makes sense. Like, nothing super interesting, like nothing super crazy, but it's enough of like just the generic good abilities that you'd want to see on like literally any servant, you know, card buff, battery, NP gain, charisma, stuff like that she's got all of that. So I think it can kind of push her up to like high tier 2. Nobukatsu, I have no idea how to rank this guy. I'm not gonna front with you guys. I don't know how to rank Nobukatsu. In fact, I'm even gonna add a row below here being, and it's just gonna say like Nobukatsu question mark. Like question mark, like, because this guy literally just exists to make someone like a Nobu better, right? Like, these two are kind of like in a vacuum, because he's literally just a Merlin for Nobu units in particular. Like, he's specifically there to be the Merlin for Nobu units. So I don't know really how to evaluate that dude. I have no idea how to evaluate him at all, because I don't know how valuable that is, right? Because it's like, Nobu's kit, like the shell of what she's doing, like if you look at like just her kit, ignoring how PP her damage is, if you look at it, you're like, okay, yeah, we're hitting like divine and riding, which is really good. A lot of riding servants also happen to be sabers, so she's gonna get special damage mod on them and type advantage. The NP gain is really good. Like, she's doing a lot of really good stuff, but her damage is still usually kind of PP garbage, right? But then Nobukatsu comes along and just like really gasses her up. And so I'm just going to leave them both down here. Now, Nobukatsu is going to be down here regardless, but Nobu, I think it's just really funny if she stands next to Nobukatsu. I just think that's funny. If that makes you upset, then I'm sorry, man. I'm just having a bit of a gaffe, a little bit of a laugh, you know. If that makes you upset, I'm sorry. She'd probably be somewhere in like tier 3. Without Nobukatsu. With Nobukatsu, she could probably crack tier 2 if you want like my honest opinion. But Nobukatsu, I just don't know how to rank him. I have no idea how to like value a servant who literally only exists to make what 4 other servants really good, right? I have no idea how to rank that. Orion is literally just like worse Yugioh, and I actually feel pretty strongly that she's like a considerable downgrade from Yugioh, just for the fact that like all of Orion's stuff is like 1 turn, and like her anti-mail special damage mod is like caked into her 2nd skill, I believe, whereas Yugioh always has it up on her NP, right? And so that means that like Yurio's not only going to be like a more consistent good servant because of like the battery, the NP drain, the 3-turn arts buff, the fact that she's always basically got her special damage mod up, but like Orion down here has got like the 1-turn buff, so as soon as she loses those, she falls off. If you're fighting a male and you lose the 2nd skill, then she's just lost a significant portion of her damage, and the specific reason you bought her to that fight, I just don't think she's like super great. So I'm sticking her down here in tier 3, and Yugioh will be up here, queen of killing the dudes, in tier 2. David's not bad. Like, I don't think David's like insane, but I think like the giant like damage mod, the harp of healing is good, the charisma's fine, he can do decent damage. I think but I'm also thinking about to like when I made the David video, and I was like, well, actually I never made the David video. I have it ready, I just haven't released it yet. I've been sitting on it for like a month, but I don't think I've actually released it. And I'm actually thinking about back to when I was doing that, and actually yeah, he kind of did disappoint me a little bit. I'm actually going to bump him down a little bit. Yeah, David kind of disappointed me a little bit. I thought he was going to do like a bit more damage, and he kind of struggled a little bit. The utility is really nice. He has like some really good utility, but he did, actually, I'm thinking about it now, And yeah, he did tend to let me down when I was getting the footage for that video. So yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna knock him down. He probably needs, like, I don't know, just like a thick buster buff or something. Like, give him like a 30% battery and like alongside a 30% buster buff. Smack that on there and then call it a day. Kid Gil, just first don't character. Like what? Like, why are you like? Why even bother? Like, Kid Gil is like the first guy out of like even all these tier 3s that there's not even a point to level him up. You know, actually, you don't level her up as well. There's like not even a point. Like, at least with Artemis, right? It's like male special damage mod. She can do one turn of really good damage. William Tell is a servant of all time. Osaka Behime, hey, at least she's cute. Okay, I'm playing. At least she's got like a decent kit. Like, she's got the taunt, she's got the attack buff, she's got the card buff. Like, she's at least like doing things. Like, she's not really doing a lot, but she's at least doing things, right? David at least is gonna get a special damage mod. Maybe you need some utility with like Harp of Healing and stuff. He's got that going on. Tauda at least has like a decent kit with like the card buff, demonic, the double dodge. Like, they're all doing something. Kid Gil doesn't do anything, right? Like, he literally does like nothing. He's like charisma, charm, that's it. My Gate of Babylon doesn't have damage mod. It just, you know, lowers their like attack and NP damage and defense. I think those are like the 3. It does like 3 or 4 debuffs, and he's like, yeah, just like lowers some of their things. And I'm like, bro, you're not doing anything, right? You're not doing anything. Doo-doo, all right? And again, this is coming from a Gil stan. Gil is my boy, all right? We love Gil around these parts anyway. But yeah, that's kind of what the tier list is going to be looking like. I can't wait to see the comments again on this one. The ones on the Saber video were absolutely positive, so I'm looking forward to the 100% positive vibes on this video. So I can't even say that with a straight face. Look, if you disagree, it's always fine to leave your disagreements in the comments down below, but you know, some of you guys are taking it a little too seriously. Like, some people are like, I cannot believe he put Arthur in this tier, and I'm like, bro, let's relax. Let's relax, bro. Let's relax, dog. I was like, this man is treating it like, some people are treating it like if I put a certain character in a certain tier, like someone's gonna nuke their house or something. And I'm like, bro, let's relax, okay? These are just my opinions on where I think the game is at. I'm looking forward to doing this at the end of every single year, and you know what? I'm always looking forward to the comments. I'm at least, I don't know. I feel like some people would be like, man, I don't know, why do you do it? There's so many like negative comments. Like, a lot of people, it's like, well, there's people that like the video, and there's some people that I can have a civil discussion with, but also the really negative comments are really funny to read. I'm like, man, this person does not like me at all. But you know what? It's all about being optimistic, and it's always about just, you know, being like, well, all right, we just got to keep moving forward. The world is still spinning, and you know, I don't know. That's how I take it, you know? So leave all those negative comments if you disagree. Leave the positive comments if you agree. Or if you're like, you know what, ZTL, I disagree with this right here, but you know, you kind of gave me the reasoning that you were going for, and so this is what I kind of disagree with, and maybe we can have a little bit of a back and forth. So, you know, all that good stuff in the comments down below. But I will catch you guys in the next video, which might be Lancers unless something else crazy happens in Lost Belt 7. So yeah, probably going to see you guys tomorrow for Lancers, but who knows what's going to happen tomorrow.